Welcome to ZoomInData. In this video, we cover Power Apps interview questions, delegation and large data handling, one of the most important and most confusing topics in Power Apps interviews and real-time projects. Delegation is the reason why many Power Apps work fine in development but fail in production. In this video, we explain delegation concepts in a simple, practical, and interview-friendly way, focusing on real-world behavior, not just definitions. Small diamond in this video, you will learn what delegation really means in Power Apps, why apps break with large data, how delegation impacts performance, accuracy, and scalability, common mistakes developers make with delegation, how enterprise apps handle large datasets correctly. This video is highly useful for Power Apps interview preparation, real-time project understanding, developers facing large data issues, beginners struggling with delegation warnings. Subscribe to ZoomInData for real-time Power Apps interview questions and project-based explanations. 1. Why is delegation one of the most misunderstood concepts in Power Apps? Delegation works silently in the background, so many developers don't realize when it is happening correctly or incorrectly. Apps often work fine with small datasets, which hides delegation problems during early development. Many developers misunderstand delegation warnings and ignore them without understanding the impact. Delegation issues usually appear only when data grows, making them harder to trace later. 2. How does delegation behavior differ across connectors? Each connector supports different delegable operations, such as filtering or sorting. SharePoint has more delegation limitations compared to Dataverse or SQL. The same formula may be delegable in one data source and non-delegable in another. Developers must understand connector capabilities before designing logic. 3. What risks arise when delegation warnings are ignored? The app may process only partial data instead of the full dataset. Results shown to users may be incorrect or incomplete. Business decisions based on this data become unreliable. These issues are often discovered late, in production environments. 4. How does delegation affect data accuracy? Non-delegable queries limit data retrieval to a fixed number of records. Calculations performed on partial data produce wrong results. Users may not realize that some records are missing. Data accuracy issues reduce trust in the app. 5. What challenges exist when working with very large lists? Loading large lists increases app load time significantly. Filtering and searching become slower if delegation is not handled correctly. Memory usage increases, especially on mobile devices. Poor design leads to performance degradation over time. 6. How does delegation influence app scalability? Delegation allows apps to handle growing datasets efficiently. Without delegation, apps fail as data size increases. Scalable apps rely on server-side data processing. Delegation is essential for enterprise-level usage. 7. What indicators suggest delegation issues in an app? Delegation warnings appear in formulas. Apps behave correctly with small data but fail with large data. Users report missing or inconsistent records. Performance degrades as data grows. 8. How do delegation limits affect reporting apps? Reports may show incomplete totals or counts. Filters may exclude valid records silently. Business users lose confidence in reports. Reporting apps become unreliable for decision-making. 9. What design patterns help avoid delegation problems? Filtering data at the source instead of inside the app. Using delegable functions and operators. Designing data models that support delegation. Avoiding complex client-side logic on large datasets. 10. How does delegation impact mobile performance? Mobile devices have limited memory and processing power. Non-delegable logic forces more work on the device. This causes slow loading and unresponsive screens. Delegation improves mobile app stability. 11. What challenges arise when filtering complex conditions? Complex logical conditions often become non-delegable. Combining multiple filters increases risk of delegation failure. Developers may not realize which part breaks delegation. Apps return partial data without clear errors. 12. How does delegation affect search functionality? Search operations may not scan the full dataset. Users may not find records that actually exist. This creates confusion and support issues. Proper delegation ensures reliable search results. 13. What risks exist when relying on non-delegable logic? Data limits restrict how much data is processed. App results become unpredictable. Maintenance becomes difficult as data grows. Enterprise readiness is compromised. 14. How does delegation differ between SharePoint and Dataverse? SharePoint has stricter delegation limits. Dataverse supports more delegable operations. Dataverse is better suited for complex filtering and large data. Choosing the right data source reduces delegation issues. 15. How do delegation limits impact user trust? Users see inconsistent or missing data. Reports don't match expectations. Users stop relying on the app. Trust once lost is hard to regain. 16. What strategies exist for handling delegation constraints? Redesign logic using delegable functions. Filter data at the source level. Use Dataverse or SQL for large datasets. Break complex logic into simpler delegable steps. 17. How does delegation affect startup logic? Loading large datasets during startup slows the app. Non-delegable startup logic increases load time. Users experience blank or frozen screens. Delegation improves startup performance significantly. 18. How do delegation limits impact real-time user decision-making in Power Apps? Users rely on visible data to make decisions. Partial data leads to incorrect conclusions. Real-time actions may be based on incomplete context. Delegation directly affects business outcomes. 19. How does delegation influence gallery design? Galleries should display only necessary data. Complex formulas inside galleries reduce performance. Delegation-aware filtering improves load time. Gallery design directly affects scalability. 20. What mistakes do beginners make with delegation? Ignoring warning messages. Assuming small data behavior scales. Using unsupported functions unknowingly. Not testing with large datasets. 21. How do delegation issues appear in production but not dev? Dev data is usually small. Production data exposes limits. Performance and accuracy issues surface late. Testing with realistic data is essential. 22. How does delegation affect batch operations? Batch logic may process incomplete datasets. Operations may fail silently. Results become inconsistent. Back-end processing is often safer. 23. What long-term risks exist if delegation is not addressed early? Apps become unusable as data grows. Refactoring becomes costly. Business dependency increases risk. Technical debt accumulates. 24. How does delegation influence data modeling decisions? Proper indexing improves delegation. Normalized data supports delegable queries. Poor models restrict scalability. Data design and delegation are tightly linked. 25. Why is delegation critical for enterprise apps? Enterprise apps handle large data volumes. Accuracy and trust are mandatory. Performance expectations are high. Delegation is essential for success at scale. Thank you for watching this video on Power Apps interview questions, delegation and large data handling. If you want real-time Power Apps projects, contact ZoomInData. If you want more questions on real-time projects, contact ZoomInData. Don't forget to subscribe to ZoomInData for more Power Apps interview and real-world content.